Last weekend, the drivers and teams took part in the Coke 600 race in Charlotte. The circuit is one of the most iconic tracks in NASCAR. Kyle Busch was headed into the race after a rough weekend during the previous race in North Wilkesboro. While he was hoping to get some redemption with a strong performance, he suffered issues during his first pit stop on lap 43. The weekend before the Coke 600, Kyle Busch was involved in an incident with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. At the start of the race, Stenhouse made a move to overtake the number 8 car and slightly squeezed him into the wall. Busch was clearly not happy and decided to retaliate by taking Stenhouse out of the race completely. After the race ended, Stenhouse was waiting outside Busch's hauler to have a word. This translated into a straight-up fistfight between the two drivers and their crew members. Before walking away, Stenhouse vowed to wreck Busch in Charlotte. And we vow to deliver the latest news on NASCAR every day. So hit that subscribe button so we can keep you updated. You won't regret it. After reviewing this incident, NASCAR decided to hand out bans for 2 members from the number 47 crew, along with a record-breaking $75,000 fine for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Kyle, on the other hand, was not given any penalties or fines. Fans were not happy with this decision as Busch publicly admitted that he had crashed into the number 47 car on purpose during the race. He said, "I wasn't too pleased about that and did come back and retaliated. Showed my displeasure of that." Kyle felt that Stenhouse did not necessarily have to make that move on the very first lap. If something had gone wrong, it would have resulted in a huge pileup involving several cars. So Busch decided to take it upon himself to punish Stenhouse. Despite this fact, Busch's actions went unpunished by NASCAR. NASCAR's VP of Competition recently justified the penalties that were given. "If we see something, we have proven over time that if intentionally hooking someone in the right rear, and we have reacted to that. But we rarely, as a sanctioning body, and we do stay out of the on-track incidents unless we see something that, blatantly comes back at us, we need to react to. In this case, we reviewed it. We looked at it, we looked and listened to audio, and again, a hard racing, but also a truly, appreciate where the two drivers stand on it. Go let those guys decide, and agree to disagree. I think it's fair to say that when you have crew members and family members that put their hands on our drivers, we are going to react. There's not a lot of detail I'm going to get into due to the fact that these are appealable penalties, and I want to make sure that we're fair to that process. With that being said, and we've been consistent about this when crew members and family members get involved, we are going to react. That's exactly what we did. When you wait 198 laps and you make those decisions that were made, again, we are going to react to that. Granted, there was no tunnel. Granted, there was no crossover bridge to allow Stenhouse Jr. to leave the track. Better decisions could have been made throughout that period of time, between the incident on the track and the incident in the garage post-race. NASCAR's justification only covered why they gave Stenhouse the fine, but not why they didn't give Busch a fine. NASCAR pundit Dale Earnhardt Jr. gave his thoughts on the fines and penalties that were handed out. "I feel like how we got to this big $75,000 penalty for Stenhouse is because that happened on such a large stage. That happened in front of so many cameras and cell phones. All of the media was involved. People spilling about in this massive brawl. And NASCAR was part of the promotion for that big moment, right? A $25,000 fine for Ricky makes sense. Like Joey Logano said, turn on your phone and that's all you see. That's why I think that is how we got to the penalty, which I think is unfair, I really do. I think that it's a bit of an overreaction on NASCAR's part, and they overreacted unknowingly off of the attention that it had gotten. Although Jr. understood where the officials were coming from, he felt NASCAR was aware of the benefits it brought as well. I kind of get where they're coming from, where, the attention that it's getting. We're not gonna say it out in public, but it's good. But we do need to make sure we send a message that this can't be the norm. I will say the suspension for his dad, I could go with that. I thought it would be for a couple of races, but it was more, indefinite or whatever that is, right? That could be 4 weeks, or that could be the rest of the season. The crewmen sitting out 4 and 8, I agree with that, I think that's okay. If it's the 2 dudes that had their arms around Kyle's neck, they ought to get something, I'm good with that. People may go, what's the big deal for Stenhouse? 25 to 75. What's the huge difference? It sets a precedent, so now going forward, the 75 is the new norm of what you're gonna get when you swing on somebody. Dale is mostly shocked by the amount fined by NASCAR. There's no doubt that the fight has been good for NASCAR in terms of publicity. For obvious reasons, they can't openly state that. However, Dale expected the fine to be lower than it was. With a $75,000 fine, drivers will be more hesitant to throw punches. But it looks as though NASCAR is encouraging the drivers to wreck other drivers' races, as Kyle Busch did not receive any punishment. P.S. Don't forget to go through our channel to view more videos on the news surrounding the fistfight between Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Busch. During the Coke 600, Busch started the race on the 8th row after qualifying 15th on Saturday. He told the media that he was positive about the car's pace to help him climb up the ladder to the top 10. There's no doubt that there were some fans hoping to see Stenhouse wreck Busch's race. However, Stenhouse did not have to, as the RCR team did it themselves. On lap 43, Busch was one among several other drivers who came in to put on fresh tires. The team mishandled one of the tires for the number 8 car, and the crew was slapped with a pass-through penalty. This means that he would have to drive through the pit lane without stopping. This left the RCR driver a lap down on the leaders. From then on, the race was all downhill for Busch. He ended up finishing in the same position he started, 15th. He was not given the opportunity to fight with the top 10 after the race came to a stop due to bad weather. After the pit stop blunder, there were fans who were glad that Busch's race got wrecked by his own team, mostly because they felt that the RCR driver deserved a penalty or a fine for intentionally crashing into the number 47 car in North Wilkesboro. There's no doubt that Busch didn't have to retaliate the way he did during the All-Star race, although Stenhouse made a risky move by banging doors with the number 8 car. There wasn't much damage on Kyle's car for him to completely take Stenhouse out of the race. After the Coke 600, Busch took to X to state his thoughts on the race. "We had a faster at BetMGM at Team Chevy today than the results showed. Proud of this team for bringing fast cars every week. We'll get it after next week." He remains positive that the team is on the right track. However, this season has not been their year. After 14 races, RCR is yet to win a race. The team has been struggling ever since the next-gen cars were introduced in 2022. Since the cars generate more downforce when compared to the previous eras, it becomes more sensitive to dirty air, which makes it very difficult to control the machine while traveling at over 150 miles per hour. The driver usually will have to adjust their driving style to avoid dirty air and complement the new setup changes that are required. Given that Busch has been in NASCAR since 2005, he's finding it difficult to change his driving style. One could say that his style of racing is outdated. With only 12 more races left, Busch will have to find a way to win a race in order to qualify for the playoffs. If he's not able to do so, this would become his worst season in the NASCAR Cup Series. Given what's at stake, Busch cannot afford to be concerned with what happened at North Wilkesboro. His biggest priority at the moment would be to overcome his issues and win a race. At the moment, Joe Gibbs Racing and Hendrick Motorsports seem to be the strongest teams on the grid, so naturally they will be the target for RCR and Kyle Busch. Do you think Kyle Busch deserved a penalty for wrecking Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s race in North Wilkesboro? Also, do you think Busch will be able to qualify for the playoffs this year? Post your thoughts in the comment section below.